surasuraganah. Devaya tasmai namah. Devaya tasmai namah. Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahanau Hunaktu Sahavirjang Karavavahi Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahi. Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om. I welcome you all for this online session of Bhagavad Gita, which has been going on for the last several months. And this is courtesy Arsha Vidya Gurukulam and Hindu Temple of Allentown. We have very successfully seen the second and third chapter, along with the first chapter, of course. And in the second chapter and the third chapter, Bhagavan is speaking about the yoga, right? So all the chapters in Bhagavad Gita are called different yogas. So what was the yoga spoken in the second and third chapter? Straight away, in the second chapter, it was Buddhi Yoga or Jnana Yoga. Then as a upaya, as a means for preparation for this Buddhi, for this Sankhya Buddhi, for this Sthirata, for this steadfastness in this knowledge, we have been seeing in the third chapter, the upaya, the means as Karma Yoga, right? Then in the fourth chapter, after having said these two yogas, which is actually the entire Shastra, it is the entire Veda in terms of pravritti and nivritti. What else can be there? Pravritti is for the sake of conduction, for the sake of transaction, for the sake of for the sake of running your family, running your profession, for the sake of everything what you do, what is the knowledge you need, right? What is the knowledge? What is the background knowledge you need? What is the real, where you should be, your mind should be steadfast for that pravritti, where your mind has to be steadfast, and which is Ishvara, right? Prasada Buddhi and Ishvararpana Buddhi. We saw that. Accepting everything in your transaction, whatever results you get as a prasada from Bhagavan himself, and then you perform action as a arpana to the Ishvara, as an offering to the Ishvara, right? So this is what else you need for the pravritti marga. This is the message, or this is the crux, or this is the intent of the entire Purva Khanda, or the Purva Khanda of the Veda. Then the Uttara Khanda, we saw the Vedanta part, which is also Vedanta part is also huge in the Shastra. Here in Gita, the entire Vedanta part is condensed in the second chapter. So that way, this is complete. And then Bhagavan in the fourth chapter, as we saw in the last session, Bhagavan is starting with the Vamsha Katana. What is the Vamsha? What is the Parampara behind this learning? Who was the Guru? Who was the Sishya? And in the process, Bhagavan says he is the Adi Guru. He is the first teacher. Bhagavan has said that, right? Now, after saying so, then there can be a question. I am seeing Bhagavan here and now. Arjuna can have this question. Actually, Arjuna is not having this question, but Arjuna is asking this question on behalf of all of us. Because in those days, Bhagavan Sri Krishna, not everyone saw him as Bhagavan. Because of all that things which were going on, all the halla julla, all the mess in terms of war and before war and whatnot, and Bhagavan taking the side of Pandavas and not Kauravas, all these things, having seen all that, not everybody could see Sri Krishna as Bhagavan. And that Arjuna knew. And Arjuna thought This is a great opportunity when Bhagavan says he is the first teacher, Adi Guru. Arjuna thought this is a great opportunity for me to bring out the Bhagavata, to bring out the Ishvara or Ishvaratvam of Bhagavan, Sri Krishna. Let me bring it out. So, because people always thought Bhagavan to be, Sri Krishna to be another human being in those days, many of them. Very few knew Bhagavan, Sri Krishna as Bhagavan. And so, this Manushyatvam, the Manushyatvam in Bhagavan, which we see when he takes an avatara, the Manushyatvam we see, the humanness, the humanness, the personification which we see on Bhagavan, that has to be resolved. Then what happens? Because people may not ask in so many different words, but they would see this inconsistency. What is the inconsistency they would see? They would see this inconsistency that Bhagavan is born to Devaki in this yuga. Which yuga was that? Dwapara yuga. And Bhagavan is talking as if he is a teacher for the Adi Deva. He is the Adi Guru for the Adi Deva. Adi Deva is Surya Bhagavan. So that is in the beginning of the creation. So people will see this inconsistency, and when there is a doubt, what is the problem of any doubt? When there's a doubt, people conclude, based on the doubt, people conclude that Bhagavan is inconsistent. When people conclude that Bhagavan is inconsistent, then the effect of that conclusion is going to affect the effect of that conclusion is going to affect all that Bhagavan is going to say later, right? All Bhagavan's Upadesha is going to be affected if they have this samshaya, doubt. So for all these reasons, Arjuna thought, Bhagavata vipradishiddham uktamiti ma bhute kasyachite buddhihi iti pariharartam chodyamiva kurvan. Chodyamiva, as though he is asking a question, as though he has a doubt. As though Arjuna has a doubt, he is asking this question for the sake of all of us. Because so, that way our Shraddha in Bhagavan increases, and also equally important, our Shraddha in Bhagavat Vachanam, the Upadesha of Bhagavan, may that also increase. With that thing in the mind, and Bhagavan is asking the question. So Arjuna is not asking a question, doubting, Are Bhagavan, Krishna, you are not Bhagavan, you are just born with Devaki. That is not the intent of Arjuna's question. So with that, Arjuna is asking this question, which we are going to see in the fourth shloka of the fourth chapter, 4.4. All right. Arjuna uvacha, you can repeat if you can from wherever you are. Arjuna uvacha aparam bhavato janma param janma vivasvatah kathame tadvijaniyam tvamadau proktavaniti. How am I supposed to know? Hey Bhagavan, bhavatah janma aparam. Bhavatah janma, hey Bhagavan, aapka janma, your birth is not param, aparam. It is abhi. It has happened recently. In terms of time, your birth is quite recent. Whereas vivasvatah janma param. Vivaswan, Surya Bhagavan, his janma is param. He is the Adi Deva. Without Surya Bhagavan, there is no time. Day and night has to be there so that we can count time. 1 day, 2 day, 3 day, third day, fourth day, right? That happens, day and night happens because of Surya Bhagavan. So that way, Surya Bhagavan is param. His janma is param. Tvamadau proktavaniti etat katham vijaniyam. Katham is a question there. Tvam, yourself, adau proktavan. You have told you have told this in the beginning. This yoga you had told in the beginning. Iti etat katham how vijaniyam. How am I supposed to know? So in translation, Arjuna said, your birth was not so long ago. Hey Bhagavan, your birth was not so long ago, whereas Vivaswan's birth was a long time ago. How am I to know that you told this to Vivaswan in the beginning? How am I supposed to know? Because Bhagavan is Aparam, when it says it is Arvag, Vasudeva Grihe. Bhagavan was born in the house of Vasudeva. Vasudeva Sutam, right? Vasudeva Sutam Devam Kamsacha Anuramaddanam. That is our Bhagavan. Whereas Surya Bhagavan is Sargadav. Sargadav is in the beginning of the Sarga. That is Surya Bhagavan's birth. So Aditya, Vivaswan is what? Who is Vivaswan? Vivaswan is Surya Bhagavan or Aditya. Then how am I supposed to take without any conflict? Without any conflict, how am I supposed to understand? Tvameva adav proktavan yam yogam. So sayeva tvam idanim mahyam proktavan asiti. Because see, if Bhagavan has been teaching also Surya Bhagavan, then it has to be also shown whatever yoga Bhagavan gave it to Surya Bhagavan, whatever yoga Bhagavan Sri Krishna taught to Vivaswan, it has to be shown it is the same yoga. So it has to be shown that it is the same Bhagavan on one hand, and on the other hand, it has to be also shown it is the same yoga. So both has to be shown, right? Why? Because this is a very special yoga. We know that Surya Bhagavan is a great karma yogi. I told you before also how Surya Bhagavan has been, has been doing his job selflessly, right? Surya Bhagavan is very selfless. He is the provider, palaka, poshaka, provider of the entire creation without having an asakti, without having a bandha, without having an association with the karma phala. Anapekshataya, karma phala, anapekshataya, Surya Bhagavan is able to perform. I should be able to perform like Surya Bhagavan. We all should have that performance in terms of how Surya Bhagavan performs. So for that reason, it is very important to know Bhagavan is the same as he thought for Surya Bhagavan, and the yoga is also same, right? So these two things are quite important, all right? So this is why the question is being asked. See, in these days, we don't want to take anybody as guru, right? Many people, they are so comfortable not having to go anywhere, and they have a very mental block to even accept some Shastravita as a teacher. What to talk about accepting Bhagavan Sri Krishna with all the things he did, with all the affairs, the way he conducted and all that, in the sense, how he was taking the side of Pandavas and not Kauravas and all that, how anybody would take Bhagavan Sri Krishna as Ishvara. So Arjuna has taken up that responsibility to clarify for the entire world with this question. Let us see what Bhagavan's answer is. So Bhagavan's answer is coming up in the next shloka. For the sake of the jnanam, for the sake of those who are ignorant, for the sake of those who cannot see Sri Krishna as Bhagavan, and who are taking him to be a Manushya with a certain Sharira. So to Varayitum, for that, for the resolving that inconsistency in the seeker's mind, not in Bhagavan's mind, not in Arjuna's mind, but for the sake of everyone else, Bhagavan's prativachana. Bhagavan is answering this way. Because Bhagavan, only when he shows his Ishwaratvam, then only we will accept, we can see Bhagavan as Sarvajna. When Ishwaratvam is shown, then what happens is we understand Ishvara to be Sarvajna, all-knowing also. So only when Sri Krishna is all-knowing, then whatever is coming out of Sri Krishna also, Krishna Bhagavan also, we would accept that as yoga. I mean, not accepting in the sense of real acceptance, but at least without any doubt, we would give our full shraddha and give our full effort in pursuing that yoga for that reason, because Bhagavan is here with the 2 hands and 2 legs. Vishnu Bhagavan has got 4 hands and 2 legs, right? So all these differences, people see and they only take Krishna to be a Manushya. So for this sake, Bhagavan is being by answering in this way, and this is in keeping with Arjuna's question. It is not, it is not a different type of. It is not a different answer. It is not that Arjuna has asked something and Krishna Bhagavan is saying something. Look at the answer. Shri Bhagavan uvacha bahuni me vyatitani janmani tava charjuna tanyaham veda sarvani natvam vetha parantapa. Arjuna, hey Arjuna, me, mama, myself and tava, yourself, cha bahuni, for yourself and for myself, bahuni janmani vyatitani. We have seen several janmas, crores of, millions of janmas we have seen. Yourself and myself. Not just me, yourself also. Aham tani sarvani Veda. I know every one of those janmas. Hey Parantapa, Arjuna is again addressed as Parantapa in the second line in the shloka, last word Parantapa. Tvam na veta, yourself you won't know. You don't know. That is the only difference. Alright? So Sri Bhagavan said, many births have passed for me and you, O Arjuna. I know them all, whereas you do not know. O scorcher of foes. So Parandapa translation is scorcher of foes. One who can burn his enemies. That's what it means. So this bahuni, that word you see, right? Bahuni me vyatitani. So in terms of having several births, Arjuna, yourself and myself, there's no big difference. Not just you and me. For all the pranis, you take any prani, you take a prani of an insect, it would have taken millions of births. You take an elephant, that elephant would have taken millions of births. So this is a very common thing. When in our Hindu religion, we have this rebirth model. Several births, everyone takes several births. That model we have. Even Swarga and Naraka, it is only temporary. The jiva goes, the being goes to heaven or hell for a period of time and then comes back. So that way, we all have several births. Okay, now that being the case, Tani aham veda, myself I know. The question is asked, so several births, for that what is the pramana? What is the authority? What is the means by which anyone would know all these several janmas? There is no, I don't see that. I only see myself in this janma, right? Someone can say, not Bhagavan. Someone can say like that, right? I only can see myself in this birth. There is no authority. I cannot authoritatively say that I had several births. Can you say that? Nobody can say that, right? So Bhagavan says, in that, that being the case, I in myself, I know all my janmas. Why? Because Ishwarasya anavrata jnanatvat. My jnana, my knowledge is anavrata. It is not encapsulated. Our knowledge is encapsulated. We have only so much in our antakarana, in our mind. We come with only so much knowledge, which is good for us to conduct this birth. In the Ishvara's scheme of things, everyone is not given all the knowledge of their entire past lives, because it's this antakarana, this mind cannot handle that. So it's sort of Bhagavan's efficient way of helping us in conducting our affairs, so we make progress. For that sake, we only know so much. Bhagavan has to do a very hard job, because our sanchita karma, we have a lot of karma in our based on all our births, right? We have so much punya and papa, and we have so much desires also. The desires has to keep somewhat in line with our punya papa, but there is no alignment. Our desires are all so lofty desires. We want always only sukha. We don't want any dukkha. But have we done enough punya for that? We know the sambandha, we know the connection, association between happiness and good deeds. We know the more good deeds we do, more we can earn happiness. We know that. But in spite of that, our punya papa has got a different, has got a certain disproportionate quantity of papa, more papa than punya. Whereas our desires are so lofty. So Bhagavan, he has to give this jiva a new birth. So he has to make this hard decision of matching up his desires and basing it on what he deserves in terms of his punya and papa. And he has to bring that all together from the infinite lot. And then he has to call it prarabdha karma, pragarabdha karma, that which is with which we are born, that karma with which we are born. So Bhagavan does this careful job, so we don't feel affected by all our birth, all our bad deeds in the past and all that. So all that birth of being born as an insect and bird and animal and whatnot. So Bhagavan is keeping all that aside for us, and he has given this beautiful human form with a certain amount of memory. So our jnana is avrita, it is encapsulated, it is packaged. Bhagavan, Ishvara's jnana is anavrita, there is no seema, there is no boundary. So for that reason, it doesn't just start with the beginning of this birth and end with the end of this birth. That is not how Bhagavan's knowledge is, Ishvara's knowledge is. It is just expanding over the entire span of time in terms of all the yugas and all the kalpas and all that, right? So that way Bhagavan says, I know all my births, whereas yourself you don't know. And we are dharmadi pratibandha jnana shaktitvat. So ourselves what? We have raga, dvesha, lobha, then punya, papa, all this, all this, because of all these reasons, we can only come with a certain amount of knowledge in this birth. Otherwise, we'll be very badly affected if we have the knowledge of all the past births. So that is why Bhagavan always gives a clean slate for us. Clean slate. Nice reset button Bhagavan does. A beautiful, he takes it is like taking the instrument and cleaning it nicely, preparing it, and pressing the reset button. So it is a brand new, like refurbished. They say that, right? So nicely refurbished, and it is as good as brand new. That way Bhagavan brings us out each time. So, and whereas Bhagavan himself is what? Nitya, Shuddha, Buddha, Mukta Swabhava. Bhagavan's Swabhava is Mukta Swabhava. He is free. He is free from limitations in terms of knowledge also. He is all-knowing, means he knows everything, including his own past, present, and future, and everything. In terms of avatars, in terms of incarnation, Bhagavan knows that. And whereas yourself, Arjuna, especially in the case of Arjuna, what? Arjuna has to be the Parantapa. You're the one who are going to vanquish your enemies. You're the one who are going to scorch your enemies. And that being the case, Arjuna, you have to see the other person as different from yourself. Right? So you cannot think of what this person was with me in my past birth and in the previous birth and all that. Now, how will Arjuna fight? Right? So you cannot do that. So human beings' knowledge is limited. It's only limited to this birth. Bhagavan, Ishvara knows Atita, the past, Anagata, the future, and Vartamana, the present. In terms of all periods of time, Bhagavan's knowledge is complete. So that is how Bhagavan knows. Bahuni me vetitani janmani tavachajana. I know several of my births. Now, the question can be raised in the next sloka. If Bhagavan, if your knowledge is so complete, and say your birth is not affected by the punya papa, lobha, shoka, moha, dukkha, and all those things which affects our birth, and then in that case, how is this birth itself? How is this possible? Because Jiva's birth is based on his punya papa and ragadvesha, vasana, right? What you desire and what you deserve, based on that our life is. So Bhagavan, when you don't have anything to be accomplished, your knowledge is so complete, in all ways you're complete, then why would you even take a birth? And that too, you're saying you have taken several births. So why would you do that? So how would you do that? What would be the cause? How would you even be born when you are not having the same lot of punya papa, when you don't have a similar lot of punya papa in your bag? So for that reason, katam tarihitam nitya ishwarasya dharma bhavepi janma ityuchyate. Because Bhagavan says, answer is, Bhagavan says, vastutaha nasti. In reality, there is no birth. I am ajaha. All that is coming in the next sloka. Ajopi san avyayatma bhutanam ishvaropi san prakritim swam adhishtaya sambhavam yatma mayaya. Aham sambhavami atma mayaya. Ajaha. The first word is what? Ajaha. Ajanma. I am birthless. I don't have a birthday. At the same time, I'm avyayatma. Because I am birthless, don't think I don't exist. I am avinashi. I am ever existent, and there is no nasha for me. There is no destruction of me. There is no disappearance of me. There is no abhava of me. Then bhutanam, and not only that, I am birthless and I always exist as is. And bhutanam ishvaraha api san. I am the Ishvara Lord. I am the Lord for the entire, all the bhutas. Take a small speck of grass, blade of grass, and take Brahmaji. For all the jivas, I'm the Ishvara. Bhutanam Ishvaraha api sanna. And then what else? Swam prakritim adhishtaya. Api san. Swam prakritim adhishtaya. Atmamaya sambhavami. So I am I am taking the prakriti, which is trigunatmika, sattva, rajas, and tamas. And these are the three, sattva, rajas, tamaha. We will see that in the description of the Shankara Bhashyam. Taking everything together, and having that in my vasha. Having that, I have the control over putting it together, and adhishtaya, having that as a basis. Atma maya sambhavami, the maya. I am born with the shakti, the power called maya, which is my own power, which is totally under my control. I am sambhavami. I am as though born. Even though, the translation I'm reading, even though being one who is unborn, one whose knowledge does not wane, and also being the Lord of all living beings, still wielding my own prakriti, I, as though come into being by my own creative power. Vastutaha, in reality, I don't have a janma. So, look at the first line. Ajaha api. The first line says the reasons why there's no reason for my birth. I am ajaha. The first line says I am ajaha, right? Janma rahityo api. And also avinashi. Avinashi means I have nothing to gain in terms of knowledge. I am complete. And I'm complete, and also I'm not going to be lost in time also. That being the case, aveyatma, bhutanam ishvaropi san, tata bhutanam brahmadi stamba paryantam ishvara shilaha, ishana shilaha. I'm the one who has the ishana shila. In fact, everyone's birth is based on my niyanta. It is under my Ishwaratvam. I decide what birth someone would get based on their karma phala. I'm the karma phala data, and I kind of direct the entire creation in terms of their births and what they deserve and all that. Even that being the case, still prakritim swam mayaya. See this. That being the case, the nature, Prakriti is not the nature here. Prakriti is Trigunatmika. See, because the word Prakriti is a very common word. It is actually more common these days because people say we have to be in tune with the Prakriti. They say that Prakriti they take as a nature. Everybody has to be, they have a swabhava, that is their Prakriti like that. But here, Prakriti is all the material for the creation. Prakritim swam mama. It is all under where? It is under my, mama. Vaishnavi mayam trigunatmikam yasya vashe. And this is under my vasha. So I have a total say over this maya. Whereas jiva, ourselves, we are under the vasha of maya. Our birth is based on our avidya. So that means we are under the vasha of maya. Whereas Maya itself, Bhagavan is born keeping Maya under his vasha. Under his vasha, there is Maya, and then Bhagavan is born. And we are under the vasha of Maya, and then we are born. So that is the main difference. Trigunatmikam. See, this Maya word you keep hearing, right? So look at the word itself. The word Maya says, Yama sa Maya. Okay. You don't see something called Maya, right? So you see the creation. You see this huge creation, right? Including our own Sharira and whatnot. You see this entire Jagat, including our Sharira, our Sthula Sharira, Sukshma Sharira. You see all this creation. Then you see there should be an intelligence behind this creation. As Pujya Swamiji would say, there has to be an intelligence behind this creation. The creation of gravity, this Sharira, this Avayavas, all our arms and legs and whatnot, right? The Angas, Avayavas. So there has to be a intelligence behind the creation. There should be a power. Intelligence is not sufficient. The intelligence should be powerful enough to create, right? There should be intelligence and there should be power. And when there is a machine which has some power, the power is within the machine. The electricity has to come within the machine and then the machine starts working. So the power and intelligence cannot be outside, scattered all over. If it is scattered all over, it is as good as it is not there. My intelligence and my power should be contained within my being, so that way I can do what I can do. Same with yourself, right? So likewise, this all intelligence behind all the creation, all the karya we see, that has to be also in a being. That being we call Ishvara, and the power with which the intelligence can create, that power we call Maya. So this Maya is a word given to the cause based on all the effect we see. Okay? So based on we see the effect only, and we have to attribute the effects to a cause. That cause we call Maya. And that cause cannot be ordinary. It has to be the cause in a being, and that being we call Ishvara. In the sense, the cause is not ordinary. It is Maya, Ishvara Shakti. That is what I'm trying to say. So now you see, you Maya, don't keep looking for a Maya. This Srishti is there, so we are connecting the creation to a cause, and that cause we call Maya. And that cause is Ishvara Shakti. So Maya is nothing but Ishvara Shakti. That is why here Sri Shankaracharya Bhagavan is saying Vaishnavi Mayam. It's called Vaishnavi. It is not separate from Bhagavan. If you see on the rope, if you see snake, if you see a streak of water, if you see a stick, and if you see something, a flow of water, sometimes you see a streak of water, sometimes you see as if the water is moving, flowing. So all this is, it is not separate from all that what you see on the rope only, right? So the cause, in a way, it is not separate from the rope. So that way, Bhagavan is a cause, Vaishnavim. So the cause Maya is not separate from Bhagavan. Trigunatmikam yasyas vashe sarvam. So that having in his own vasha, in his own having complete say over that, and so vashe sarvam jagat patte yaya mohitam. So this is Maya is so. In fact, one way you can understand this Maya is how it is the one which is ya mohitam sat swatmanam vasudevam na janati. This Maya, why we say we are under Maya? Because the same Maya, we get carried away so much with the creation, with what is outside, that we are not looking enough inside. All these things in the Jagat should make us appreciate Ishvara who is Antaryami, right? That is a purpose. But we get carried away. We have enough ajnana, enough ignorance to keep ourselves busy with everything outside. So that way, this Maya is the one which is also doing the moha. It is as though cause for a delusion also. Our delusion is because of our avidya, because of our ignorance. So we should not blame Maya. one question will people right away would ask. If Maya is deluding, then why did Bhagavan create Maya? No, as I told you, Maya is what? It is just we attribute the effect to a cause, and that is Maya. And we can appreciate that we are getting we are our bahirmukta. We can appreciate our extrovertness, and we can appreciate the extrovertness can be distractive, and so then that all is only to make us more introvert. So that is a hetu. We can take that as a hetu, as an encouragement, motivation to look inside, right? So Bhagavan has to give this infrastructure. If this infrastructure itself is not done, when I say infrastructure, don't look outside. Even your body is your infrastructure. It is also an effect of Bhagavan's Maya Shakti. Otherwise, we would have been a jiva. Without any manifestation. We have all our desires and all our karma, punya, papa, and we cannot manifest. We cannot express. It is a very horrible situation, right? So Bhagavan has given this Stula Sharira and all that, so we can exercise our infrastructure efficiently to for knowing Antaryami Bhagavan Vasudeva, Advitiya Vasudeva Tattvam, Jnanartham. So then, so that is the cause, but then that is also, so that is a Maya, just to make you appreciate Ishvara's Maya. But this Maya, which I have told in so many different ways, that Atma Maya, Atmanaha Maya, Bhagavan is having in his own, is wielding the power over that. So Paramatataha, there is no. See, for us, this body is real, in the sense, we have a birthday, this body in terms of body, this is a birthday and death day and all that, whatever that, expiry and all that. For Bhagavan, this is all, it is all as real as the, suppose if a man is dreaming, it is all real in his dream and he wakes up, right? He is not dying. The dream person is dead. He is alive. And so that what about the dream person then? The dream person is just pratiti matra. He was there only when he was there as long as he was dreaming. Likewise, Bhagavan is one who is like a jnani, who is more than a jnani, who is awake to the reality, and he knows that whatever people see as in terms of the sharira, it is just for the sake of seeing only, pratiti matram. So, when having said that, then we have to go to the next shloka, which is a very important shloka, a very popular shloka, right? Which is the shloka number 7. And here, now having told so much regarding Bhagavan's birth, when would Bhagavan be born? What are the times when Bhagavan will take an avatara? That question has to be answered. So for that, this next shloka. Tacha janma kada kimartam. What is the reason, and then when does it happen? So this 7th shloka mainly talks about when this Bhagavan's birth happens. Yada yada hi dharmasya glanir bhavati bharata abhyutthanam adharmasya tadatmanam srujam yaham. You'd hear this shloka with a lot of emphasis and tune and all that. Yada yada hi dharmasya glanir bhavati bharata abhyutthanam adharmasya tadatmanam srujam yaham. Hey Bharata. Here Arjuna is addressed to the special word Bharata. You have heard that before. And he's saying, Yada yada hi dharmasya glanihi. So this dharma, which is in terms of pravritti and nivritti, for all your transactions and or for all your whatever you want, everything you want to accomplish, and then everything you want to accomplish for this world and also for your other world. Vedokta dharma. Whatever dharma which is explained in the Vedas in terms of pravritti and nivritti, in terms of taking up to several activities and also giving up activities. For all these things, whatever Veda has mentioned, that dharma, Glanihi, when there is a hani, when it gets affected, when there is a danger for that, bhavati, then adharmasya, then not just for that, adharmasya abhyuttanam, whereas when there is also an abhyuttanam, means in a vriddhi, when there is an increase in adharma. So when there is a decrease of dharma, or when there is an increase in adharma, bhavati, tada aham atmanam sujami. Then I create myself. Sujami. I'm born. Right? So, oh Arjuna, whenever there's a decline in right living and an increase in wrong living, everywhere I bring myself into being. Assume a physical body. That time I assume a physical body. So, this dharma you have to understand. See, I'm going to give a very important and interesting connection. Dharma, according to our Shastra, is Varna Dharma and Ashrama Dharma. Varna is taking up to your duties in terms taking up your duties in terms of the society. When it comes to society, what all I should do? That is the Varna Dharma. Ashrama Dharma is when it comes to my family, what all I should do. That is the Ashrama Dharma. Okay. So we have a social responsibility. We have a responsibility, family responsibility also. So we have a responsibility towards society also, right? We both are equally important. So we do based on this. And our Shastra talks about this elaborately, all that. And when the Shastra talks about that, it also keeps in mind of what we have to accomplish in terms of moksha also, not just the dharma, artha, kama, right? So, we have we pursue. Our activities are for the sake of, say, some artha, for the sake of some wealth and well-being and security and all that. And then our actions are also, say, for some pleasures. Our activities, of taking up to some pleasures. Now, this is all possible. The same pleasure, if you pursue, of going to, say, somewhere, say Hawaii, you're able to pursue and you're able to go and come back. Someone else is not able to pursue, and he's not able to. He said, "I've never seen Hawaii in my life. I've been in the U.S. I'm born here. He can say, I'm born here. I have for 5 generations we're all Americans. We have been here, but we have never seen Hawaii. And then you come as an immigrant, and then you say you've been to Hawaii. So say some pleasure, right? So what I'm trying to say is, even for that pleasure, your effort is there. Even for the well-being, for your wealth and well-being, and for your health and whatnot, your effort is there. But also it has to be backed up by your punya and papa. That is what can explain the difference between 2 persons putting the same effort and both of them getting 2 different results. That we call the punya papa model or the karma model, right? So to explain the difference. So then the punya papa affects your karma phala. It affects your effort. The punya papa affects your effort. And for punya, what you do? You take up to some good activities. And you have to also avoid all those activities which are going to earn papa to you, right? So how would I know these activities? Intuitively, based on the samanya dharma. I don't want to hurt someone because I don't want to be hurt. I don't want to lie to someone because I don't want to be lied. I want to help someone because if I was in the same situation, I would like some help. So this samanya dharma we all know. The vishesha dharma you have to know. Vishesha, the special duties of a soldier, if you're in a professional, if you're in a certain profession, the vishesha dharma of being in that profession you should know, right? That also you should know. And then the vishesha dharma of you born as a kshatriya, say as a brahmana, all these things also you should know. In terms of shastriya vishesha dharma also you should know. All these vishesha dharma you should know. Then you would be able to perform activities properly then you would be able to gain punya, then you would be able to have some artha and kama. Your artha and kama, your desire for security and desire for pleasures can be taken care of like this. Even for moksha, there has to be an antakaran shuddhi, right? Even for moksha, there has to be an antakaran shuddhi. And that antakaran shuddhi is because of what? Because of doing karma properly. Doing karma based on dharma, right? So there right away dharma comes and moksha. So these are all dependent on what all the activities you take up. Is it shastriya or ashastriya, right? So that is the dharma we are talking about. When there is a hani for that dharma, then Bhagavan says, I am born. That is what is called abhyuday nishreyasa and all that technical terms are there. Hey Bharata. So the Bharata word is there. Arjuna, you're in the Bharata Kula, Bharata Vamsha. So may you also, may you also be that person like me who is who takes yourself to be as bond for protecting this dharma. Hey Bharata. Then for also adharmasya tadatmanam sujami. So adharmasya abhyuta. So there is an adharma also. When there is an opulence, when there is an abundance, when there is an increase in adharma also, for these two reasons, whenever these are the reasons, whenever these things I see, that time I am born. So Bhagavan is giving this message very clearly that he is born. So it is not, it can be several births, even in the same yuga. So just the criteria is abhyuttanam adharmasya and dharmasya glanihi yadi bhavati, then Bhagavan is born. So this is the thing. The next shloka, you all, is also very popular. I don't have time for the next shloka today. I'll definitely come back next week with a very important shloka or very popular shloka. What is that? Next shloka is Paritrana yasadunam vinashaya cha dushkrutam dharma samsthapanarthaya sambhavami yuge yuge. Very popular shloka. And this is regarding Bhagavan's, the purpose. What is the purpose of Bhagavan's birth? What does he do when he is born like that? When there is a hani for dharma and when there is an increase in adharma, Bhagavan is born during that time. But what exactly Bhagavan does? So who are the beneficiaries? And that is all told in the next shloka, which we're going to see next week. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.